Before 2002, very little was known about Senegalese football at both continental and international levels. For a country that had never been crowned champions of their own continent, qualifying for the World Cup in the first place was deemed as an impossible task. But in that year, what Senegal had was a determined spirit, great athleticism, talented players, and an underdog tag that worked in their favor. Senegal had begun showing signs of what they were capable of 2 years earlier in the year 2000. At the African Nations Cup of that year, co-hosted by Nigeria and Ghana, Senegal almost beat Nigeria to make it to the semifinals until an 85th minute late equalizer and an extra time goal by Julius Ahawa ended their dreams of making it to their first semifinals since 1990. After that impressive showing, attention shifted towards the African Nations Cup and the World Cup in 2002. Many thought the priority for the tiny African Nations Cup was to qualify for the continental tournament and build on their impressive showing 2 years earlier. But Senegal had other plans. They wanted to qualify for the World Cup for the first time in their history, and that they did. They were placed in a final qualification group that included former African champions Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, and Minos, Namibia. Many people gave them very little chance of being one of the 5 African representatives at this year's World Cup. Senegal started slowly, drawing their first 3 games, but 4 wins and a loss in their last 5 meant they were qualified for the World Cup for the first time in their history. After Senegal qualified for the World Cup, there was more pressure on the team to do well in the 2002 African Nations Cup of that year. And this time, they did not disappoint. The talented Senegalese side of that year looked revenge on Nigeria, beating them 2-1 in semifinals before a heartbreaking penalty shootout loss to Cameroon after the final match ended in a 0-0 stalemate. The Senegalese team was filled with talented players, most of them playing their trade in France. Kalilou Fadiga, Bouba Diop, El-Hadji, Alan Cisse, and Henry Camara, just to name a few, were some of the standout players of that generation that ended up wooing football fans all over. Senegal, making its first appearance at the World Cup, was placed in a group that included defending champions France, 1992 European champions Denmark, and South American champions Uruguay. Before their first game against France, renowned French midfielder and Arsenal captain Patrick Vieira had said that Senegal stood no chance against the defending champions, and the football world seemed to agree with them. The odds of Senegal beating France on that day were 200-1. The aggressive and experienced French side had a chance to take an early lead when Thierry Henry found David Trezeguet, who beat Senegalese goalkeeper Tony Silva in the 24th minute. But Trezeguet missed and hit the right post. Momentum had switched, and it was Senegal's turn to come out shooting. 6 minutes after the missed shot attempt, El-Hadji found Papa Bouba Diop, whose first shot was saved by Fabien Barthez, only to see the French stopper allow his opponent a second chance. Diop did not miss on the next attempt. With still an hour left to play, France went into attack mode, but the quick reaction time by goalkeeper Tony Silva would prove too strong for France, blocking a free kick from Yuri Djorkaeff and a shot attempt by Sylvain Wiltord to end the first half. In the end, the Senegalese stood their ground and the match was over. Senegal had its first victory as newcomers to the World Cup. The world was stunned. Senegal had just beaten the defending champions. Back home, the country celebrated the monumentous victory, and Senegal President Abdoulaye Wade declared it a national holiday. In their next game, Senegal was matched against Denmark, a country that was crowned champions of Europe 10 years earlier. The weather that day was a scorching 32 degrees Celsius, which might have fueled the fire for 2 early yellow cards and a penalty. In the 16th minute, Salif Diao fouled Danish striker Thomasen, and Denmark scored the resulting penalty kick to take an early 1-0 lead. In the 52nd minute, Senegalese midfielder Salif Diao made up for his error with a goal off a 5-man move to level the score at 1-1. Although Senegal had chances to score and win the match, it ended in a draw. Possibly unsatisfied with their draw against Denmark, Senegal came into the final group match against Uruguay shooting red hot, scoring 3 unanswered goals in the first half. However, in the second half, momentum quickly shifted when Uruguay scored a 46-minute goal, and then another one in the 69th minute. Senegal held on to their now 1-point lead up until the 88th minute when Alvaro Recoba scored the equalizer off a penalty. Yet again, Senegal was not able to win, but that didn't matter because that was enough to see them through to the round of 16. The second round match against Sweden was where history was made. 2 early goals, one from each team, tied the match at 1-1 at full time. At extra time, the laws of the game at that World Cup meant whoever scored first won. It was nail-biting stuff at its finest, and Senegal scored in the 104th minute through a brilliant golden goal by Henry Camara, clinched Senegal's quarterfinals ticket. It was the second time in history an African side had made it to the quarterfinals of the World Cup, and what made this special was that it was Senegal's first appearance on a world stage. In the next game, Senegal was pitched against Turkey, another team that had defied all odds to make it to the quarterfinals. And just like their previous game against Sweden, it ended scoreless after 90 minutes. This time around, it ended in disappointment when Turkey's İlhan Mansız scored the finisher in extra time to knock Senegal out by a crucial golden goal. In the end, Senegal had proved that with a strong spirit, anything is possible. And its coach at that time, Bruno Metsu, predicted greatness would continue for Senegal, saying, "I'm very proud of my players, and we have come and shown that we are capable of upsetting the hierarchy of world football." On the world stage, Senegal has not been able to replicate the success of 2002, but it had continued its steady rise with African football and recently qualified for the World Cup in Russia 2018. In 2019, the team achieved its highest FIFA ranking in history, reaching number 20 in the world. It also reached the final of the African Nations Cup in Egypt before succumbing 1-0 to Algeria. Senegal now has a team that looks like it could bring back the glory days of the yesteryears. But there is no doubt the foundation was laid in 2002 by an African team that came to the World Cup for the first time and almost made it to the semifinals.